It's been some time since we've looked at a truck model, and here's one that's to support the Palfinger brand of loader cranes. The box is Palfinger branded, but it's in the familiar style of WSI models. And if we turn the box around, we get to see some details. And the model is a Volvo FH5 Globetrotter with a Palfinger PK135.002 TEC 7 with a jib. Try saying that after a few drinks. Anyway, no drinks here, so it goes straight on the weighbridge where it weighs exactly 2 pounds, which is just over 900 grams. Normally we open the box to see what's inside, but we can already see what's inside. But you still have to open the box, so we will, and then we can pull the insides out. Included in the box is a small booklet, and we'll take a look at that in a moment. But right now it's straight out with a knife to cut the tapes. With the lid lifted, we can proceed to take out the various parts of the model. First out is the truck itself. Oops, and it's shed a loose part. Next we have the load box, and that's followed by the fly jib. There's also a bag containing a few parts. So we had one loose part out of the box, but it's the easiest fix ever. It just slots straight back on. And a bit of help from our old friend Super Glue will make it a permanent fix. Included with the model is the standard Palfinger Cranes manual. So it is a generic manual which covers all of WSI's Palfinger models. It's clear and simple enough and covers the usual arrangements, although this latest Palfinger model has a couple of extra features. After you've had a look at the manual, there's one more piece of packaging to deal with. And that's a tiny amount of cling film, which is securing a towing hitch at the back. For the assembly, we'll attach the load box, but it's first interesting to see that there's a sliding fifth wheel, and that works very nicely. Attaching the load box is straightforward enough, it just clips into place, and it rests reasonably well in position. Back to the weighbridge to check the model, and it's just about 1 pound 6 ounces, which is just over 600 grams. We start underneath the Volvo chassis, and as you would expect, it is very detailed. The steering and front suspension is realistic, and there's the exhaust box, storage boxes and fuel tank. The drive shaft runs through to the rear axles, and they are similarly highly detailed. At the back there's an outrigger box. The tyres front and rear have different tread patterns. The cab roof has got some nice moulding, and there's a non-see-through roof light. And the smaller details such as roof aerials and light bar are excellent. The cab has got a decent interior, and the front grille has got a nice textured surface. There's a front outrigger box, but there's no number plate because this is a generic model. The door mirrors are colour coded, and this version of the model has an attractive 2-colour decoration. There are textured steps and very detailed wheels. The boxes and tanks between the wheels look very good, and there are large textured wheel arches, and the overall effect is to give the model a very realistic appearance. At the back there are tiny graphics on the outriggers, but you can't fully retract the pistons. At the rear the light bar is clean and simple, and there's the nice towing hitch. And whilst we're here you can see the rear of the load box, and that's very detailed in its casting. The Palfinger crane is a heavy lift version, and there's a really nice teardrop profile to the cross-section of the boom. At the top there's a visible hinge which would have looked better if it was black. On the other side of the Palfinger you can see the slewing ring. There are more tiny graphics, and there are also a set of control levers. The outriggers look realistic with their smooth pistons, and there are spreader plates included. The multi-section boom has got individual pistons, and the individual boom sections have thin walls. The fly jib is to a similar standard, but the last two sections are too small to be modelled in this scale. Back underneath we go, and the rear axles spin freely, as do the front wheels. There is a linked steering, which is quite intricate, but as you can see, the angle that's achieved is really quite small. Out onto the Cranes Etc. superhighway, and the Volvo rolls along well enough in a straight line. Let's see if we can drive it around the bend, and we'll adjust the steering. And as you can see, the angle is very shallow. Whilst we're on the road, it's worth having a look at the big Palfinger, and that's because there is looseness in the parked position, so it sits slightly wide. Back to the Volvo cab, and it tilts forward, and as you can see, there's a detailed engine underneath. It's made up of a number of different components, and it's got the Volvo name on it. We've arrived on site and we want to do a bit of lifting, so let's get the outriggers out. On one side it sits high and the post has to be rotated, and pins are supplied to lock the posts in position. Out of the box the fit is extremely tight, so it's good to remove some excess paint. And the best way to do that is to use a mini drill. These usually come with lots of different sized drill bits, so they're good for this purpose. The pin can then be inserted easily. With rigid outrigger posts we can now lower the pads by unscrewing, and tiny spreader plates are included. This model is a little bit different because it has an outrigger post at the front, but the downward movement is limited. Also unusual on this model is the hinged winch, and that is easily rotated into position. With the outriggers out we can now open up the loader crane. And because the hydraulic rams are stiff, you need to be careful what you hold on to as you make these moves. We've got the boom partially up, and rotating it is very smooth. And we can now get on and extend the boom. There are so many sections, and therefore some of them are a bit tight to begin with, but they can all be opened up. You might just need to lever some apart to get them going. Although there's a lot of stiffness in the moving parts, the plus point is that the crane will actually hold a load without bleeding down. This is a heavy duty crane, and it also comes with a fly jib, and to install it you need to remove the last section on the main boom. It's all straightforward. You just unhook the piston and pull out the boom section, and then you just reverse the process to install the fly jib. This is an attractive looking model of the Volvo FH5 with the Palfinger loader crane. As a generic model for Palfinger, it shows off the loader crane very well, and it's always impressive that there's so much functionality in these loader crane models. As usual for WSI, it also has a very high level of detailing, so overall this model has enough going for it to be rated as excellent.